contracting coronavirus. And even though the vaccine is out already, it's still not available to everybody. And so, please let us continue to do the right thing. We cannot overemphasize the fact that coronavirus obviously works differently in everybody. So whilst one person could get coronavirus and just not even know, be asymptomatic throughout, another person could contract it and be gone the next day. So we all pray to be safe and to be alive for a long time to come, and that hopefully very soon this pandemic will be over, because when it comes to pandemics, the last one I was reading about the last pandemic, and apparently it took about 2 years before they could finally say it was gone. There have been pandemics in the past. There's been the influenza pandemic and quite a number as well. I was reading somewhere about some of the histories, 10 of the worst pandemics in history. So, the fact that we've had them before, then definitely we can overcome this one. I'm sure a lot of people just thought it was something that would be gone in a few months, in a few weeks, but that has not been the case. And it's never been the case that a virus would just come and then it will be gone again. I was reading up about the 2009 pandemic. That's the first influenza pandemic of the 21st century. That occurred in 2009 to 2010 and was caused by an influenza virus. It was the first pandemic for which many member states had developed comprehensive pandemic plans describing the public health measures to be taken, aimed at reducing illness and fatalities. For the first time, pandemic vaccine was developed, produced, and deployed in multiple countries during the first year of the pandemic. So especially for those who say, the pandemic just happened, they've come up with a virus, normally it would take like a long time to... This is not the first time we've had a pandemic, so you can imagine that, they've done it before. It's definitely something that shouldn't be, it's not new, just so to say. All right, so please stay safe out there. Do the needful, be mindful of yourself, and I'm sure that hopefully we can. It's been over a year already that we've been, I think it was last week that we sort of celebrated 1 year of lockdown in Nigeria. I remember a lot of people put up a post to say that this time last year we didn't even know that we're all going to go into a lockdown. And then we've been in a lockdown somewhat. Well, the pandemic has been on, ranging for just a little over a year. So I'm sure I'm hoping, let me not say I'm sure, I'm not a doctor. I'm hoping that we're coming to the end of it. Like I said, the last pandemic took about 2 years to actually be able to officially say, hey, we're over it. So this is just a little over a year. We're hoping, if we all do the right thing really, because we can't just wish it away. If we're not doing the right thing, people are still hugging, people are still having one days where there are so many people, and if that's the case, it's not something we can wish away. All right. Okay, so on Beyond the Surface today, I'm going to be calling up an important lady about a topic that jumped up a few days ago. And this topic, I'm surprised not many people are talking about it. It's always a good time to talk about rape culture. It's always a good time, especially when in the news we continue to see issues of rape. We continue to see young girls being victims of rape. Even now we call them survivors of rape. We must continue to talk about it. I know if we make some people feel uncomfortable, why are we talking about rape again today? But until we stop seeing, the unfortunate incidents or events of young girls, being victims of, rapes and predators, then we must continue to talk about it, because there's also a silence culture, which is why, when I heard about this story of the Covenant University lecturer, he was arrested, and for me, when I saw arrested, I thought that's fantastic, because every time when you hear it in the news, it's usually, girl cries out that somebody rapes her, and then oftentimes not much is done about it, because then she's silenced and she's told to keep quiet. Are you the first person to be raped? I've actually heard somebody say that before. She's the first person. She should keep quiet. And we've heard all sorts of things as well. So it just goes to show us that more education needs to be done. We must continue to educate people. Because I think that we have ignorant comments like, what was she wearing? What was she doing there? Was she a virgin before he raped her? And stuff like that. They're laughing at themselves here, but until those kind of ignorant questions are no longer questions. Because when somebody said that this morning and sort of tried to downplay rape, and obviously the person's a guy, and I thought, how would you feel if two gay guys, and of course, the outrage and the God forbid, and the and I'm like, I need to see this energy when we're talking about a girl being raped. That's the energy I want to see, because now you may also be a victim of rape. Let's say two gay guys just decide, they see you and you look nice. Maybe perhaps if somebody now asks you after, what were you wearing? Were you maybe blinking at them, or were you maybe looking at him suggestfully, seductively when he raped? So I like to see that energy when we hear about rape. All right, so this story, which is interesting, because like I said, the public outrage is not many people have found. I'm the one that's having to tell people. Can you imagine this happen? Because this is a school that obviously is a lot of parents send their children to this school because they feel they'll be safe here. This is a school where you're not even allowed to wear jeans. So the question of what was she wearing cannot even come up. You're not even allowed to wear jeans or anything tight or fitted in this school. It's supposed to be a safe space. Only just to let you know also, when people say, where was she? She was in a safe space, allegedly. And it's also sad because a lot of people, even in their homes, which is supposed to be the safest place for every girl, are even raped in their home. So that question, we don't need to hear it anymore, ever again. Ever again. All right, so let's read the story in the papers. A lecturer in the Department of Business Management at the Covenant University, Otago State, Dr. Stephen Okena, has been arrested for alleged rape. Police said Okena was arrested on March 11 for forcefully having unlawful carnal knowledge of a 17-year-old student of the school, named with him. The 41-year-old lecturer was arrested after a complaint was lodged at Ota Area Command by the parents of the victim. Shall we also still applaud? Because I know lots of parents will probably have told her, we'll just keep quiet about it, just keep going, and I can understand, because the stigma attached to someone that's been raped, the energy that we put in shaming victims, we should transfer that energy into shaming and embarrassing predators. But would rather just tell the victim, you two, keep quiet, you two. So for a parent to support their children and for the girl to speak up and go to complain, trust me, that's huge. Anyway, the parents had informed the police that their daughter talked to them on phone from the school, narrating to them that she was invited by the lecturer to his office on the said date under the pretense that he wanted to plan a surprise birthday party for a close friend. However, on getting to his office, the lecturer locked the door and forcefully had sex with her on the table in his office. The Ogun police spokesperson, Abimbola Oyemi, has said on Tuesday, upon the report, the Ota Area Commander, ACP Muhyiddin Obe, swiftly deployed his JWC team to the school, where the Randi lecturer was promptly arrested. Even the police in this case need to be applauded, because oftentimes we've heard people who have been, victims of rape say they go into the police station and police go say, what thing they find there now? What thing they do there? What thing happen? And stuff like that. Those are the kind of thing. I'm glad that there's education that's happening, even in the police force, to help them to be more empathetic and supportive of people who have been raped. On interrogation, the suspect admitted having carnal knowledge of the victim, but was unable to give any reason for his action. So he admitted. Meanwhile, the Commissioner of Police, CP Edward Awolowo Ajogun, has ordered the immediate transfer of the suspect to the state's CIID for further investigation and diligent prosecution. I hear that he's already been dismissed from the school. I know that the school is, very, very protective of their reputation. And so I'm glad that they don't want to be affiliated or, attached to, a person like this. I'm going to be chatting with Ibukun Oteshile in a moment, and we're going to be talking about this culture of silence that we still have, and some of the things that obviously still hold back people from coming out to speak out. Ibukun Oteshile is the founder of HOSEC Foundation, even though she usually focuses on children, but the girl is under 18, so she's still a child really. She's a minor. She has a foundation that focuses on abuse in children, and we're going to be talking to her in a bit. But first we'll take a short commercial break, then I'll have her back here with me. And we'll talk a bit about this. So please don't go away.
Watch FM 105.5.
Yeah, where's that today was just one of those days. Woke up by 5, made breakfast, went to work, did my job, then my Oga's work, then Oga's work, came home, made dinner, and now nothing can stop me from enjoying my rich, smooth, refreshing Dubic malt.
Enjoy the silky smooth taste of Dubic malt. Dubic malt, crown the moment.
Start your baby's life's journey in comfort with Huggies. Give baby a brand new car or a beautiful home. Cash cash rewards up to ₦1,000,000, shopping vouchers, and lots of instant airtime wins. Win your baby a life of comfort with Huggies Happy Home Bonanza. Just buy any special Huggies Dry Comfort or Huggies Nappy Pants pack and scratch the promo sticker on pack to start winning. Buy now and win to bring your baby up in comfort. Visit Huggies.com.ng for offer terms and details. Huggies, for all night dryness and comfort.
Ọ̀rọ̀ bíìtì ìwọ̀n fún mi ní èyí ní dídùn fún òjòwọ́. Máa wọṣọ ìfọyín ọ̀rọ̀ bíìtì ìwọ̀n tuntun fún eyín tí ó lágbára àti èyí ní dídùn tó lálò pẹ̀lẹ́.
Make the most of the new normal with not your smartphones. Stay connected to friends and family with phone calls and video chats for longer with a 2-day battery life. And capture the beauty around you, snapping and sharing crisp pictures. The Nokia 5.4, 3.4, and Nokia 1.4 makes staying connected easier. Nokia smartphones. Trusted, always secure, and built to last.
Lights, camera, wake on.
No, it's not an act. This is my life for all to see. In the bright lights, see blessings how they fall on me. From small beginnings to big brother. From the chances I take to the inspiration I give others. I am a rapper, a singer, a winner. I am an icon. So when they turn the lights on, they see that I am Lakon.
Watch I Am Lakon, a brand new Showmax original reality series, only on Showmax.com.
It is time for celebration. Happy days supposed to be good as day. The first time I ever saw was you can't stand that it. You can't stand that it. Oh, thank you. But still with so much greatness. Can't stop. Babes, good morning. How is it? Good morning, Jerry. See, now I'm just tired, my friend. I'm thinking of how I will get to the market to buy food stuff and provision again. See, it's a big problem for me. Are you really serious? Haven't you heard of Food Locker? A place where you can get all your food stuff and groceries affordably and without stress. In fact, you can sit at home, in your office, anywhere, and order everything you need at www.foodlocker.com.ng, and they will deliver right at your doorstep. They have yams, gari, meat, crayfish, oil, provisions, even pap ogi. When you suit your belly, their prices are so affordable and very comparable with market prices. You will even get farm-fresh vegetables, chicken and fruits, and they also have continental products. Please, stop giving yourself problems. Just go to www.foodlocker.com.ng or download the Food Locker mobile app from Google Play Store and shop. They are headquartered in Ibadan and they deliver across many states. This is good news. Thank you very much, my friend. You are a lifesaver. www.foodlocker.com.ng is the answer. For further details, call 0903-178-7037. Food Locker. All the food stuff and groceries in one place.
My name is Nathan of I do my bell. Any house I go to my well. Empty and post don't come ring my bell. What is I hear of data just for the night? You see, I'm a very, very big guy. Don't go to my big guy. So if you get the free guy, we the background for the big guy. It's PM 6 a.m. Go boy, you can live the life. I think TikTok is ready to go. Oh boy, I'm feeling fine. Cause you know
MTN calls. Do you dial *406# to join? Everywhere you go, MTN. Splash FM 5.5.
Welcome back. It's still the Morning Splash on Splash 105.5 FM. I hope you're doing great wherever it is you're listening to me from. I'm Ronke Giwa Onafuwa, and this morning I'll be talking to a wonderful woman who's doing such great work in the area of abuse, especially towards children. And I'm happy to have her here. She's actually not a guest to our programs here on Splash 105.5 FM. She's featured on quite a number of the other shows because she's so passionate about helping people who have been abused through that abuse. And I'm really glad to have Ibukun Oteshile here with me. She's the founder of HOSEC Foundation. Okay, all right. Hello, Ibukun. Good morning, Ibukun. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Fantastic. Great to have you here.
It's always a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, so I was wondering, Ibukun, about this latest case that happened, which was in a newspaper that I found a few days ago, of the lecturer that raped the 17-year-old. And for me, I don't know if for you as well, it was odd because oftentimes we're in a culture where usually people don't report. And for this case to have been reported, for me, it actually took me by surprise. And in fact, that not too many people are talking about it as well. I don't know if it's something that crossed your mind.
Well, yes, for me, it's evidence that the seeds that we've been planting are beginning to grow and beginning to bear fruit. So this is telling us that we're making progress. Is it at the pace that we want? Maybe not. But the fact is we're making progress and it's something we should celebrate. So our young ladies, our girls, our women now know that they can get help and it's no longer okay to keep quiet or to be silent. It's no longer business as usual. So that for me made me very happy that she had the courage to go ahead and
parents also supported her.
And her parents, so that also talks about the place of the parents in all of this. That support base that she was able to get to go ahead and make a report.
Absolutely. And I also wanted to say, because I actually didn't find out in the newspapers, was somebody from the school that told me about it. And during our conversation, she had talked about how, I'm sure she'll obviously never be able to come back to school again. That's one of the limitations that people find when it comes to speaking out, because then now her life is never going to be the same. And because we often shame the victim and not the perpetrator, oftentimes. Yes. So, and I was thinking, I wish she could go back to school, put her head up high. But what are the limitations that you find, apart from the fact that, your life will never be the same, that you find that stops people from actually coming out to speak out about rape?
Well, yes. One of the very significant part of it is that victimization. And victimization comes in different degrees. You have the open hostile victimization. And then you also have the ignoring the person victimization also. Because when somebody has gone through this kind of experience and then, the person is isolated, it's also a form of victimization because nobody wants to work with or relate with that person. And I always like to just say that, rape or sexual harassment is not a disease. It's an unfortunate experience. It's a terrible experience, but it is not a disease. And for instance, I was in Junior show a couple of weeks back, and we were talking about sexual harassment and all of those things, the training and all. And I said to them that schools, special institutions must have support systems for victims. You can't say come out and say, we put systems in place for you to report. But if the report, there has to be a support base, something that would ensure that she stays in school, I hear the same way she be, that you have counselors and psychologists available in the school that she can see.
Absolutely.
So when we have all of that put in place, then it's a difficult journey, that's the truth about it. But with the appropriate support system put in place by the school, of course you can be sure that you'll be fine. And I want to believe that even after this call, I'm going to make a few calls and make sure and take on the school and what they are doing in terms of ensuring that
this case isn't covered, it doesn't die. Absolutely.
This is good.
Yes.
Right, that part of it. I can say that, well, to a large extent, it's not likely that the case will be covered, because I know that there are organizations already telling me, I've also checked with them. But then we always forget the victim most of the time. We run after perpetrator, try to get justice. What about the victim going back to life as normal or near normal as possible? And that's another area that we need also to, emphasize and focus on the perpetration support. So we need to engage the school on what is being done or what will be done to ensure that this girl is not
to
ease her back into normalcy. And again, because usually we find that when one abuse happens, especially if it's rape, there is possibility or likelihood of, other forms of sexual harassment to happen because the victim is likely to feel less of themselves. So their self-esteem, self-worth can actually take a nosedive. And if care is not taken, we realize that, someone raped her once, and then down the line, another person raped her, and down the line, another person raped her. It's almost as if she has a written on her head. Why? Because the psychosocial care she should get to build our esteem again is not there.
Right. Now, because that thing you just mentioned is something that I find that is actually quite common with a lot of rape victims. When they feel like, is it that the last rapist told everybody, because it feels like even when they move to a different city, they find that they keep just and a lot of people don't understand what people that have been raped go through. Perhaps, I don't know, from your work and what you've done with people who you've tried to help, what are the things that how you can explain? I know to a person who has never been, you can never understand what's the process that they go through just right after a rape has happened.
Okay, so the first is that self-blame. Usually that, maybe they shouldn't have gone there, they shouldn't have answered the call, they should have been wiser, they should have known better, they should have, so there is that spiral of that guilt, that self-blame. And guilt is one of the most difficult emotions of feelings to shake off. It can be very destructive. So they themselves almost are on a self-destructive phase. When they allow the guilt. So there is first that self-blame, there is that guilt. The second is that sense of, death. That, I'm dirty, I've been defiled, especially when it is multiple rape, maybe a gang rape. That sense of being filthy is one of the feelings or emotions that they have, of being worthless, what value do I have? They almost feel like if they walk by you, you can tell that 4 or 5 persons have had sex with them. So they are in that state that they are self-conscious. You realize that their self-esteem takes a nosedive. They are self-construct. Their perception of themselves. For instance, I was speaking with a survivor just a couple of recently. And then when she was speaking to me, she said something about, I was a good girl. I used to be a good girl. I had to cut her short that, no, you are still a good girl. What has happened to you does not change the fact that you're still a good girl. It's about experience, but it's not about you. So you realize that, they come into that space, and because they come into that space, there's a theory called the self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, what that talks about is, if someone keeps saying something to you, or you keep hearing something over and over again, subconsciously you begin to act to make that thing happen. Like, you yourself begin to act or do things to now make what has been said or what is being said to come to reality. So, it becomes a reality, and that's what most of them play out. So, and they don't forget that predators do profiling.
Exactly.
They're like, just like hunters do profiling.
They look at who is vulnerable, the quiet girls, the girls that,
of the shoulder. They can profile their victims, and you realize that when such things happen, survivors withdraw. They are no longer in their friends because they feel less of themselves. They feel, they are not of the same value level with their friends. So they withdraw them their shell. So they are always on their own. And these are things that the predator will see from a distance. It's almost as if they have those for it. Yes. They take advantage of that. And before you know it has happened again and again. And that's why psychosocial support is very key.
Very key. And that's why for everyone who wants to come up with, I know for people when they hear that, maybe someone that's close to you comes to you and says, this person raped me. I know you're trying to understand it, but when you do play the blame game, what were you? I know some of those questions may come from a good place because when you're trying to understand something, you're asking all sort of foolish questions sometimes. But trust that she has blamed herself over and over again, so she doesn't need your blame. Trust that she has questioned herself over and over again, so she doesn't need, all she needs is support. But I was also very impressed the fact that what happened was actually that she had called the police, she had called her mom, and her mom had called the police, and they sworn into action, which is not something that we hear often of. So I don't know if some sort of education is going on in the police force that seem to be working, because what we hear is that, yes.
There's a lot of work. There's been a lot of work with the Nigerian police, with all our law enforcement agents, not just the Nigerian police, but with the Nigerian police. For instance, I know that you have the gender unit in every police or gender desk in every police station, where cases like this are addressed. And then when such are reported, they are transferred to the state CID. Because of course rape is a criminal offense. So there's been a lot of education that has gone on, that is still going on with the police. But the truth is we need to help the police also. Timing of report is very key. A lot of times we wonder why our cases fall flat. It's because they're dead on arrival. If you present to the police 5 days or 3 days after a rape, the evidence is gone. The evidence has been tampered with. But immediately it happens without you changing your clothes and, doing all sorts. Yes, it might be you feel dirty and all that, but you report at that time. The police are able to, of course, make a referral to a hospital, state hospital most of the time. They can then do a vaginal swab because there would always be evidence that somehow the flu from the semen. There will be something that they can use to know the perpetrator, especially when it's a known perpetrator. Even if the perpetrator is not known, now that we have our biometrics.
Right.
So we are getting to the place where we can still track our perpetrators or the predators or the aggressor. We're making progress actually, and all of those things will come together. But we also need to help the police by reporting immediately such happens. Yes, very, very important that we do that.
Absolutely.
I'm not forgetting, let me also mention this, use this opportunity. Not forgetting the fact that when rape happens most of the time, it's not done with condom, with any form of protection.
Exactly.
So you also have the risk of sexually transmitted diseases. And that's why it's important for you to present immediately to the hospital. That's what we call
not just about evidence, but also to make sure they do some work to help you.
So at the hospital, there's emergency contraception which will be given to make sure that, after the rape, you're not pregnant. That's it. Then two, there's post-exposure prophylaxis that will limit the growth of HIV virus. So that works within 24 and 72 hours. And that's why we say, once it happens,
Present yourself. Oh, thank you so much. I wish I had more time, but I need you to give out your number for anyone who's listening here and who's been a victim or something. I don't know if there's a number they can reach you on real quickly before you go.
Yes, so that's 070 37 61 8998.
8998. Thank you for always coming and for your passion and the work that you do. Whenever we call you, talk about this. You're so passionate. Even if we call you 2 minutes before, you're always ready to come out here to talk about it. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much and have a wonderful
collaborators.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I've been talking to Ronke Giwa Onafuwa, the founder of Hope for Second Chance Foundation, HOSEC, an NGO that employs public advocacy in combating child sexual abuse and juvenile delinquency. And she's been actively involved in molding children, teenagers for over a decade. She's a well sought out speaker at children and youth conferences, parents forums, teachers trainings, school seminars across the country. Thank you once again, Ronke Giwa Onafuwa, and thank you for listening and participating. I hope that this has sort of educated someone somewhat to be more supportive towards rape survivors as opposed to be judgmental. That's it from me today on Beyond the Surface. I'm Ronke Giwa Onafuwa. Good morning.